Okay. Thank you again. Thank you very much, sir. And man, and we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a special off the record this evening. This is our back to back. I want to thank Brother Anthony Muhammad for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a conversation with myself and my viewing and listening audience. First of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
The first question I want to know is, when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I first heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, live and in person, 1978 at Union Temple Baptist Church, when he was first starting to rebuild the nation of Islam.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And what? How did you wind up getting invited or going to the event?
My mother was a member of the church, and she said I should go and hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I did, and the story continued.
Praise
From that point on, I began my transition into the nation in 78.
Praise be to Allah. Wonderful, sir. Yes, sir. And what was it about his speech that made you want to accept?
Well, it's almost like today. You were seeing black men with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that was believing in God and were not weak, mamby-pamby, or milquetoast. They represented strength to attract men to believing in God.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And
because at today's time, you see those that are in other persuasions of religion do not have the attracting power to attract men who want to stay as men.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And when you first went to the 1978, so you accept, what was it like in DC? Who was the minister, the captain? Like, what was it like we are on Kenilworth Avenue? Where was everything in DC at that time?
It was zero. It was no study group. It was just the first inception of him coming to a church, Reverend Willie Wilson's church, in 78, who had invited him to speak at a Black History Month celebration, which was in February.
Wonderful, yes, sir. And peace, Sister Naima and Brother Earl. Thank you very much for always showing love. Thank you all for watching. Yes, sir. So, how did it go from the first inception, like you all hear it, into an actual study group and into a mosque? Could you let us know what it was like when you just looked around and saw a few people? What made you want to stay if you just saw a few people?
The word attracted you. It had so much attracting power that you wanted to hear more. And from that first inception, I began what was called the tape connection that we had in Washington, D.C. I began to record the minister on a Marantz cassette tape recorder. And I began to go wherever he did go on the East Coast to record him. And we began to have study groups in all different parts of Washington, D.C. I had a study group in my house. Once we got it going as study groups. And that was in 1980.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. And Brother Victor P. Muhammad says, thank you very much for your decades of service. And thank you, Brother Anthony, for your sacrifice and your sacrifice of your family as well. So from 1980, you were having study groups in the house. At what point is there laborers appointed or people, officials, to set up an actual structure so you all can get a building?
In 1980, we had a brother David, who was appointed as the coordinator of the Nation of Islam in Washington, D.C., who
Mm-hmm.
later passed. And we began to meet and meet. And then our first meeting place was the Howard Inn, which is on Howard's campus today.
Okay, yes,
And we
sir.
went around from house to house. And then on Sunday, we all came together at the Howard Inn. And when we couldn't meet there, we went to church to church to church to continue the process of rebuilding the Nation of Islam. We met at the Phyllis Wheatley Y on 9th and Rhode Island Avenue, Northwest. We met at the Martin Luther King Library at 10th and F Street, Northwest. We met at the Howard at the Holiday Inn at 6th and C Street, Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all over Washington, D.C., gathering the lost found people of God.
Praise be to Allah. Now, when you all are having study groups in these small sections with Brother David, what are you all actually studying? Like, what is there a message to the black man? I say there's a rob. Like, what's out
Yes,
there?
we had Message to the Black Man. We had How to Eat to Live. We had speeches of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We had the 7 speeches. We had a lot of material that we were studying. And we had lectures current of his day that he had spoken.
Praise be to Allah. Alaikum salam to Miriam. Alaikum salam to Naima. Thank you, ma'am, for tuning in. Thank you all for always showing love. Yes, sir. So when did you all actually get a building? Like go into one building?
Well, it was one building actually at the Howard Inn, and we got the building in Kenilworth.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first building that we had of our own, where we met.
Yes,
and that
sir.
was in 80, 83, 84.
84. Yes, sir. And who was the minister at that time? Was it still Brother David?
No, at that time, Brother Aleem had been appointed the minister by 83, 84 in Kenilworth. Well, before that, he was appointed before we even got a building at the Howard Inn.
Yes, sir. Excellent. And thank you for the rich history, as people say in the comments. Thank you, Brother Dorsey. Brother Dorsey, please check your inbox. And thank you for always showing love. Yes, sir, Brother Anthony. What was it like when you met the minister at that time, before there was the E-team, before there was so many people around him, when he could just come into a city one-on-one? How was that like?
It was awesome because we would do security from the church, and I was in the church doing security on the minister, meeting him at the hotel, meeting him at the airport, picking him up at the airport. One time, he was at a hotel in Washington, D.C., where Ronald Reagan was shot at. The security had went to sleep, and I saw him coming down the escalade, and I had to take him to the airport as he was leaving the city.
So yes, sir, yes, sir. And who did you all think he was back then? Did you already know who he would be, or did you think of him as just a preacher, or you knew who you were looking at when you first saw him?
Well, if I didn't know, I acted like I did.
Yes, sir.
Because he was the only thing representing our salvation anywhere in the country. Without fear, without hesitation.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And when he was coming in back and forth, the Jesse Jackson time period, could you let us know what the climate was like in Washington, D.C. during Jesse Jackson's run for president, to be president of the United States?
Oh, it was real hot. When he went to Syria to help bring back Mr. Goodwin, who had been shot down in Syria. And he was really the person that helped to the most degree to bring Mr. Goodwin back home. And Jesse Jackson, of course, took the credit for it. We met him coming back into Washington, D.C. at Andrew Air Force Base. We met him at the tarmac getting off the airplane, a C-130. That night, in the morning, he went to the White House to meet with Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan said, you can't argue with success. So your father and Akil and I, we went to the White House. I went in. They were driving.
That's amazing. I never heard that story before. Yes, sir. So they were driving. I didn't know my dad drove, by the way, for the minister. Yes, sir. So they were driving. You go in. What was it like being in the White House?
Yeah, the gray ghost, the old gray ghost that Akil had, a Lincoln, Continental.
Yes, sir. And what was it like going into the White House at that time? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we went right in and came right back out on the lawn where they usually have a press conference at. And it was on the front page of Jet magazine.
Yes, sir. Wonderful. Yes, sir. So after that, how does that lead you into the dope buses and going into Mayfair Mansion? Like, is it the same time period, or is this like help us understand?
Similar, 86, late 85. We went into Mayfair. Drugs was getting bad. Times was terrible. Crack had hit the scene. We were dying left and right. And we went into a complex called Mayfair Mansion. And the owner and the residents noticed that when we came in with the final call paper, the drug dealers dispersed. So the owner, Mr. Arthur Reynolds, asked your father, could we do this on a regular basis?
Crazy. So, yes, sir. Now, what were you thinking about individually when you all were going into this, crack and guns and all that kind of stuff? And
we were going to save our people. We were training every day. We met over in Kenilworth to train. So we were taught what the Holy Quran says. You fear no one but Allah. So guns, we had no fear. People, we had no fear. Whatever they thought was going to happen to us, happened to them.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Wonderful. And when you went, so did you ever receive death threats that you had to overcome while you were in Mayfair?
Yes, sir. The so-called Jamaicans from New York were selling drugs in Mayfair Mansion, and they said they was going to shoot us up.
Yes, sir.
And this was a weekend, and we had called the whole East Coast to come down to Mayfair. So they came from Richmond, they came from New York, came from Newark, they came from Baltimore, all over the whole East Coast, and we flooded Mayfair. But even before that happened, a drug dealer pulled out a shotgun thinking we were going to run from him with the shotgun. Instead of us running from him, we ran to him, took the gun, slammed him, and he was being touched by God.
Allahu Akbar. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
So we did what they do in church. We laid hands on them.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
And we told him what a blessing it was to have hands laid on him with a shotgun, because if it was the police, he would have been dead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He just had a broken neck.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that you all sacrificed. Now, when you had your children, the youth in the mosque, and you were married at the time, and did you ever? What were your thoughts about? Did you ever hesitate leaving your children and your wife to go into like a legit battleground to to fight drug lords and stuff?
We did it.
Mm,
I had FOI class in my house in the
mm,
basement.
mm, 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 mm.
So we had no fear
Baby, so alive.
at all of the police, of the drug dealers, of anyone. The fear just was not in the Muslims.
Baby, so alive. Now, how now is this during the time of Marion Barry? How was
Yes.
how were the city officials? How did they receive you all? And how did Marion Barry, did he show respect, or how was that a relationship?
They tried to have hands off of us, but as I said, Ronald Reagan said you can't argue with success.
Mm,
So the Secretary of HUD awarded a contract to the dope busters, and we went nationwide for
crazy.
every housing project in the country. If
Mm,
we could man it, we were given a contract to man every housing project in the country.
praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. That's wonderful. And how did the media portray? Did they portray you all as heroes, or was it more of a vigilante thing? How did the media? Did they show you love?
For a moment, we got a award from Channel 9. Even Ronald Reagan's wife congratulated us for doing the job we did in Mayfair Mansion, and it's documented.
Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. Yes, sir. I just want to have a brief commercial break. I want to say that my sister Miriam's book, ABC I Love Me, and her coloring book is a sponsor of this podcast with Brother Anthony today. Also, my brother Rashad and his business partner Jamal have a video production company that they sponsored this. Street premiere. Thank you all for always showing love. And my second book, which is a children's book, Cleopatra, is on Amazon. Thank you all. If you all would like me to sponsor your business and shop me to advertise, let me know on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Cash App, J Imagination. And thank you very much. All right, right back to you, Brother Anthony.
Yes,
You
sir.
informed me that you have been working in the prison ministry. You have known me my entire life, and I never knew that you were into the ministry, into prison, into speaking in the prisons. What is it about the prisons that fascinates you, and what made you go into them?
When I was a young, my father was locked up,
Mm, mm,
and I said I would not go into prison
mm, mm,
to see him.
mm.
And of course, never knowing the circumstances of all our life story, after knowing some of the conditions that we get locked up under, I accepted that mission to go into prisons all over the Mid-Atlantic region under the leadership of Abdullah Muhammad, the National Student Prison Reform Minister.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And when you go into there, the condition of our people, does that not depress you? It would seem to depressing to me to see people, our brothers behind bars,
Well, since I believe in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that our great brother, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is teaching, he was told he would get all of our people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All of them, no matter what condition they are, no matter what state of mind that they're in. He, through Master Fard Muhammad, the Black God, would get all of our people. Not one left out.
Praise be to Allah. Yes,
And
sir.
if love is the greatest thing, then love will bring them back.
Mm, mm, mm. Yes, sir. And do you have any success stories of you going into the prisons and connecting with our people and them, keep them when they get out, showing you love, or you staying in contact with them once they are released?
Yes, sir. We have brothers that are in the mosque right today, that's doing things today. Brother Troy, who's in our mosque, who's getting ready to start a mosque in Annapolis, Maryland. And a host of other brothers of over 30 years have come and are still in the mosque today.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. I definitely thank you for your work. My sister Miriam thanks you, Naima Rashad, and thank you all. Thank you for your service to our nation and your family as well. What has been the greatest trial since you served in the nation, and how did you overcome that?
I guess the greatest trial was the loss of my two sons.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And as we always do, or me, if not one else, blame ourselves for why it happens.
Yes, sir.
After I talked to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he made it clear it was not my fault.
Praise be to Allah.
And Allah will try you through these circumstances, and death is one of them.
Yes, sir. Yes,
with
sir.
loss of life.
Yes, sir.
So my continued work is what keeps me overcoming it.
Allahu Akbar. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. What has been your greatest joy and since you've been in the nation?
Meeting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And what advice would you give to future husbands?
For future who?
Future husbands.
Future husbands?
Yes, sir.
Never give up. Keep fighting. Never give up. And take the advice that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us. There is no such thing as a no good woman, or no good woman been made no good by a no good man.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Excellent. My brother Rashad says, long live Khalifa and Idris. My sister says, may Allah be pleased with both of those beautiful souls. And thank you, Brother Victor P. Muhammad, for always showing love, sir. Yes, sir. What advice would you give to future fathers?
Learn about the woman and her struggles in carrying a child. I delivered 2 of my children in the house. Every man should experience that.
When you say that,
it's not because being pregnant for a woman is not a sickness. So going back and forth to the hospital as if she is sick and she's not. Learn the natural process of delivering a baby. That will give you the greatest respect for the woman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Knowing that you can't carry a baby inside of you.
Yes, sir.
A human life with a heart, with a lungs, with liver, can talk. That will give you the greatest respect for a woman.
Crazy.
Delivering the child you made.
Wow. Yes, sir. Okay, you have a work in in the political realm in DC. What made you want to get involved in politics as well?
When the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that community development is the basis for want to develop yourself, you have to help the community become developed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. That's a great reason.
So
I'm listening.
it's millions of people that are addressed, named in every community in the whole United States. And the government have a list of them in writing that you can access in every neighborhood, in every city in America. The money you spent, whether you want to be a part of the government or not, as soon as you get a driver's license, you're a part of the government.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As soon as you get a passport, if you want to leave America, you got to deal with the government.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So all who pretend like I don't want to be a part, well, then you have to leave to America and don't have a social security card.
Yes, sir.
That made me get involved. They have all the names. They have all the people. Whatever development is coming, if a hole is in the ground, it already has been planned 10 years before the hole went in the ground. And they have the books, the diagrams, the architectural diagrams of every city that's going to be re-gentrified. 10 years before, 20 years before, and they have it in a book that's accessible to whoever knows how to access the information.
Yes, sir.
If you never get involved, we'll be running around beating our heads to death. Because I would like to see us running cities.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you say you got 1,000 men, but you don't have them doing nothing? Why not you be the mayor of that city?
Yes, sir.
The alderman of that city, the
Yes,
council member of that city. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said you don't need a brotherhood if you're not doing nothing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wonderful. And thank you all for watching. Brother Anthony, I have one, thank you once again for your great inspiration and information. I have one more question for you. What do you want your legacy to be?
That I tried to help somebody. That I gave my time, my effort, and all that I had to help the fallen, downtrodden Black people of this city and country.
Praise be to Allah.
I gave not just lip service, but time, money, effort. Sacrifice, time, money, effort, house, family, to assist others without a cry, without a complaint, without a condemnation, without giving up and quitting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Through it all. As they sing in church, nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to quit.
Allahu Akbar. Thank you, sir.
I'm not giving up.
Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Minister Jamil. Says, Assalamualaikum family. Good to see the family. Thank you very much, Uncle Jamil, for tuning in. And I want to thank you again, Brother Anthony, for taking time out of your busy schedule to give us some stories that I never heard.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I look forward to putting this on YouTube so that people can see the history, until the rest of the time, man, that your sacrifice and the sacrifice of your family, you have been like an uncle, and your
yes, sir.
Are our cousins. You know what I'm saying? We love them and love you and your family. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.